Hello and welcome to Off My Shelves. This episode we're going to be looking at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimate Collections published by IDW. We're going to be looking at volumes 1 to 6 of this series by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, so let's just get into it. I grew up adoring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I watched the cartoons endlessly, I had all the figures, I had every type of merchandise going really, but the one thing that I never did until recently was delve into the comic versions of these characters, and specifically the original comic iterations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and their universe. And so when I noticed that IDW published these Ultimate Collections, these wonderful large hardback volumes, the same size as a Dark Horse Library edition, with wonderful wraparound covers by Kevin Eastman, I jumped on board and bought all of them really. So we've got volumes 1 to 6 that contain pretty much the majority of the Mirage years of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story. In general, every book in the series of 1 to 6 is well crafted, well designed. They're all uniform in their binding and the quality of the paper, and there's even solicited a volume 7 to come out at some point. It was delayed, I think, in 2020, but possibly will come later. You will see a difference in the cover to volume 1 of my editions, because I got a black and white variant edition, just because the series itself is all black and white. I couldn't resist this black and white cover. You can get all of them in black and white, but I could only find number 1. The end pages are gorgeous as well. Volume 1 contains issues 1 to 7, and by the end of this you'll have the full origins, or at least the original origins, of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You'll find out about the Triceratons, Casey Jones, April O'Neil, Baxter Stockman, Fugitoid, and what we know as the Krang. The whole universe really kind of opens up massively in Volume 1. The one thing I will say though is the only thing that lets this whole series down slightly is this kind of slightly now and again sloppy writing and spelling and things like that. The art across the board, whether it's by Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird, is stunning. Also contained in volume 1 is the Raphael one-shot, and we get the other Turtles one-shot in volume 2 of the Ultimate Collections, and Michelangelo, Donatello and Leonardo there, and then we get issues 8 to 11 in volume 2 also. Now issue 8 is a prime example of how the writing is a bit more sloppy and a bit hard to get by sometimes, but then when this series is really on fire, it's on fire in the writing and in the art and in the lettering, but sometimes it falls short. The annotations by Peter Laird and by Kevin Eastman are wonderful throughout the series really, even though later on in the volumes they do get a bit lackluster on Peter Laird's part, because it's a bit more minimal, the amount of information that he gives out, to be honest. Volume 2 does collect though my favourite issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, these original years, and that's the Leonardo 1 issue, and it is just gorgeous in every way. The art in it is stunning. It's very much a silent kind of issue on Leonardo's part, because it's him battling the Foot Clan while trying desperately to kind of defeat them and get back to his family, who are all just chilling out in the apartment having discussions about various things. But then when that issue ends, the whole family are brought in, and then various storylines kick off and send the Turtles running out of New York to really find themselves again. But that issue is seriously beautiful on every level. Volume 3 contains issues 12 to 21, and this is a point in the series where Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's time was very much dragged in many different directions. They were kind of plotting and doing loads of different things with the cartoons, with the merchandise, tons of different stuff. So you see a great deal of new artists, new letterers, new writers coming into the series in this volume really. After all the devastating events that happened at the end of Volume 2, the Turtles in the first 4 issues of this volume find themselves recuperating in the countryside away from New York. But then towards the middle part of this collection, we get into the Return of New York parts 1, 2 and 3. And book 1, which is issue 19, is absolutely sublime in every way. The pencils by Jim Lawson with inking by Peter Laird and layouts and scripting by the pair Eastman and Laird. It is just an amazing issue. The artwork on display is so beautiful. Splash pages over 1 or 2 pages in the Turtle volumes, all of them in fact, are real big events really when you read in the book. The book tends to build up and then explode over 1 or 2 pages, but when it does, they are just sublime and you're left awestruck by the artistry. But volume 3 and issue 19 is a key example of how those splash pages are just absolutely wonderful on every level. Volume 4 of the series starts off strangely because it starts from issue 48 and runs till issue 55. Now the reason why there's a big jump in issue, because obviously volume 3 left off in issue 21, is the series became quite higgledy-piggledy, a mishmash of different writers and artists, and the storyline became quite erratic, telling different one-shot and longer form stories all over the place. And so what they did is they decided to kind of refine it to tell the main storyline. And so this starts off telling you the City of War storyline, which is a massive storyline which really gets back to the Turtles' roots and really explores the problems that they've created in the earlier issues. And so it runs all the way through this issue, and then it goes on and runs for 13 issues straight into volume 5. Now volume 5 is slightly thinner, but it collects issues 56 to 62. So between volume 4 and 5, you're going to get that complete story arc of the City of War, that 13 issue run, which is really some of the best work they've ever done, to be fair. And it really does explore in depth, not just the Turtles being in this world, but all the other characters that they've impacted. And it even delves quite heavily into the personal lives of Casey Jones and April O'Neil. They really do a great job exploring all the different avenues of the world and the universe around them. If you were looking to read the main story arcs and the most interesting and artistically interesting stuff, in my opinion, then volumes 1 to 5 is all you need, really. Volume 6 is a collection of standalone issues, weird and wonderful issues, and I would say that it really is only for fans of the art of the series, and that's about it, really, because the writing is not the best in places. The stories are not really part of any larger story, and they don't really get into the characters in depth. Don't get me wrong, there is stuff to really like and enjoy in this series, but it is full of the more easygoing, strange and weird and wonderful stories from the Turtles universe, really. And it isn't essential, but it is a great addition to the series anyway. Overall, the stories contained in these volumes was a massive surprise to me. I had never really read and absorbed the original comic series, and to do so in this format was great because the pages are all oversized, big, bound hardback volumes, and the way they've organised it by cutting out a lot of the bump issues in the middle part, no doubt kind of helped me stay with the series, because if there was more of what's contained in volume 6 in between all of the main stories, I'm not sure if I would have stuck with it as much, so I'm glad that they did lay it out that way. For those of you that are fans of the series, and for those of you that haven't read the series, I think this is an excellent purchase. The books are still for the most part in print, and they seem to be quite evergreen. They seem to keep coming out randomly every now and again, so certainly pick them up if you're a fan of the Turtles and want to delve into it. We will be looking at more Turtles books on the channel in the coming months, but I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Ultimate Collection of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original comic book series. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.